You may be surprised to hear, but way back in the day, a witch was considered a wise woman. In fact, the Old English root for witch, witche, literally meant wise woman. Wise woman of the plants and herbs. So these women were the healers, the midwives, the herbalists, and they were highly regarded and respected at the time. Definition of witch has changed a ton throughout time, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the fact that we can always tap into our inner wise woman remains. And today I'm going to be showing you how to do just that.
I'm Coral, your optimistic bestie, here to awaken your inner goddess. I'm obsessed with goddesses, queens, and powerful women, and love to dress like them and channel their energy to cultivate my own inner goddess. Welcome, goddess.
Okay, so the first thing we have to do is dissolve that black cloud around what being a witch means. For a long time, witches have been associated with the work of the devil or with being evil. In fact, if you looked in the dictionary, a witch is defined as someone who uses magic to do harm to others. So it's understandable why people would have a fear of witches or wouldn't want to be associated with a witch. And that's totally fine. You can just call yourself a wise woman instead. But as a modern witch myself, I have learned to reclaim and embrace the term witch. The word witch has actually been repurposed as woman in total control of herself. And I fully believe that. Now, before we delve into how to connect with our inner witch, we have to go into the history of why witches went from being wise women to being considered evil and feared by many. If you look back in history, from medieval Europe to even early colonial America during the witch trials here in Salem, then you would see that a lot of the individuals accused of witchcraft were merely people who deviated from the societal norms at the time. So think about empowered, independent women. A lot of the healers in medieval Europe would have had the financial freedom that other women didn't have because they provided such a valuable service to the community. They also had a deep knowledge of the plants and herbs, which would have allowed them to have access to remedies such as birth control, even psychedelics. All of this was considered sinful, so these women became associated with a reputation of working with the devil. In fact, it's believed that because these women were able to provide other women with solutions for birth control, why we get that stereotype that witches eat children. So you can understand how the myth of the witch became enveloped with so much mystery and with so much darkness associated with it. Now, here in early colonial America, during the Salem witch trials, some of the women accused were powerful, outspoken individuals who owned land, and that made them targets. Some of the women accused were mentally ill or beggars and considered burdens to society. If you were too spiritual and too connected to yourself, you could also be accused of witchcraft because your thoughts and ideas were different and weird. You had to fit in such a tight box to fit in. This is why even now to this day, women tend to carry a witch wound. It's basically this fear of being seen, of being heard, of being yourself, because you're afraid of persecution, you're afraid of what other people are going to think, you're afraid of being judged, and you're afraid of getting in trouble for it. Men can also carry a witch wound, but in men it tends to look as this impulse to burn the witch. Men who are afraid of powerful women. So, as you can see, it's super important for us all as a society, both men and women, to heal this wound. And this is a huge part of connecting to your inner witch. It's really hard to connect to her if you don't heal that wound, because there will always be that fear of being seen. I know this because I've been there myself and I've battled with it for a really long time. But after doing a lot of work, here I am talking about how to step into your most brilliant, magical inner witch. So now that we've covered the really hard stuff, let's get into the fun stuff. The many different ways to connect with our inner witch. Number one, I recommend getting in touch with the goddess of witchcraft herself, Hekate. I didn't know who Hekate was, even though I like to call myself somewhat of an expert in Greek mythology, but Hekate is the goddess of witchcraft, and the reason why many of us haven't heard about her is because she is ancient. She is even older than Zeus and Hera and Apollo and Athena and all of those gods that we tend to know about. She's basically a lot older than the Olympians. She actually belongs to the generation before Zeus, at least in Greek mythology, but in history it's just believed that her worship preceded that of the Olympians. So she is of a more ancient religion, and she was the all-powerful goddess. She was the goddess of magic, witchcraft, of the crossroads, of the underworld. So anything mysterious or otherworldly that happened back in the day, the Greeks would turn to Hekate. She's often depicted holding a torch in one hand and holding a set of keys in the other. That's because she holds the keys to magic and to the underworld, but she also holds a torch to light the way. So when you're at a crossroads, when you're at a point where you can go either way or you don't know where to go, she's a great goddess to turn to. And she's just a great goddess to turn to in general when you are feeling alone and in the dark. So getting in touch with our inner Hekate, our inner goddess of witchcraft, is a great place to start. Another way to get in touch with our inner witch is literally just getting in touch with nature. That's a huge thing. Witch is a wise woman of the plants and herbs, right? So whatever part of nature you connect the most to, go with that. If you like to garden, or if you like to plant, or if you like to hike, do that. Connect with the trees, connect with the plants and herbs, connect with animals. A huge part of getting in touch with our inner witch is actually being able to communicate with animals. That's why witches are often depicted with cats and with crows. We also use our animal companions for magic or simply for company. You might feel ready to start mixing some potions of your own and start experimenting with that. So a few great ways to do that. We all have our own different ways. If doing spells and mixing potions sounds a little intimidating, start with mixology. Even making mocktails or cocktails, something like that. This is a great way to start working with natural ingredients to make fun little brews to share, and most importantly, make them with intention. That's what a potion is all about. It's infusing our magic into something physical that we are creating. And you don't need to make an actual potion like a spell book, or you can just do that next time you make a soup or your favorite meal. Infuse it with a lot of intention, whether it's healing vibes or love or showing someone how much you care. If you infuse that into what you're making, then you'll notice that it actually has an effect, and it's really beautiful. It's like just such a tangible way to do magic. Now, of course, I enjoy a good cocktail, so I got this book, Moon Magic Mixology, and it's really cool because a lot of witchcraft is actually connecting with these forces that are greater than us. So the phases of the moon carries a lot of energy, and us witches are always paying attention to the movement of the stars, the cycles of earth, because we believe that tapping into these energies makes our magic more potent. So learning more about the moon is also a really great place to start. And if you can mix both do a little bit of moon magic and a little bit of mixology. Another way that I started dabbling is actually making beauty potions. So I got a book on the beauty witch's secrets, and she talks about rituals and potions for beauty. Now, this is what I find the most exciting and the most interesting to me. Before I delved into my witchy spiritual self, I was actually a dermatology provider. So this just comes easy to me, and I love anything related to beauty. So starting with something that speaks to you, it doesn't have to be beauty related. It can be whatever, but starting with something that already feels easy to you, that you're naturally interested in, is the best way to go. My next tip for connecting to your inner witch is to start a meditation practice. And I know that this may be a little boring and even a little hard for some of us, because meditation doesn't always come easy, but it is so effective at helping us clear all the stuff that doesn't need to be there and just create a practice of being in touch with our inner selves, of being in touch with our emotions, and most importantly, just follow our path and follow what we came here on earth to do. Now, if meditation feels a little bit difficult to you, I definitely recommend the next video, which will take you on a beautiful journey towards actually seeing and speaking and receiving messages from your inner witch. Another really important part of connecting with our witchy self is physically embodying a witch. And we do that with our outfit, or with our makeup, or with our accessories, but basically with our look. I just think this is a really important way to embody anyone. And it's also something that I do when I want to embody the energy of a goddess. So let's create a really fun witchy outfit.
Finding my witchy style took a while, I'm not gonna lie. I did channel a few classics to find out exactly what felt the best, and ultimately I decided a simple black dress that I feel comfortable and beautiful in is the way to go. I went thrift shopping and I found this amazing velvet robe that really brings me to that witchy vibe. And then I also like to pair it with a few good accessories. Since my outfit is black, I decided I'm going to add some red earrings, which go perfect with this flower crown I made for myself. Another option is, of course, a witch hat. Thrift shopping also landed me this quintessential witch's purse, and we're ready to go. Bye, witches!